Good morning. Good morning. Welcome on this lovely, sunny, warm Sunday morning. It's my pleasure to welcome you to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Danbury. My name is Sam McCoy, and I'm currently serving this congregation as the chair of the Sunday Services Ministry team. And I've been a member here for not quite 20 years. It's crazy to say that. I don't know where those 20 years went, but here we are. If you have not already done so, now is a great time to silence any electronic device or telephone you have with you. And look at that. I haven't even clicked my button, so I'm going to do it. Now I'm silent. The Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Danbury has been gathering together for over 200 years. And as we work to build a more just world, we respectfully acknowledge that our physical building is on the traditional land of the Paugussett people. I'm so glad that you're able to join us this morning because you are an essential part of our celebration today. Whether today is your first, 10th, 100th, or 1000th Sunday in our midst, in person or online, we are stronger because you are here with us. If you're new to our community and you're joining us online, we invite you to introduce yourself and where you're connecting from in the chat box as you're comfortable. At the conclusion of today's service, you'll have a chance to join a breakout group for individual connections and deeper check-ins. If you're new and you're here in our fellowship hall, we invite you to fill out a visitor card, which is at the table out in our front lobby right near where you came in. And we also invite you to consider staying for a little while after the service today. We typically have coffee and maybe a few snacks, and we'd love to get to know you better. We are one people of many beliefs, many origins, sexualities, and genders. We are all growing, all learning, and all loved. Just as you are welcome here. Before we officially begin our service, we do have a few announcements. So Sherry will put that slide up on the screen for us. The first thing I'll point out is that directly following the service this morning, or shortly after the service ends this morning, Reverend Tony is going to be here for a Q&A session, getting to know you as he settles himself here in our congregation this summer. But next Sunday, we have the pleasure of having Jim Scott here to lead our service. And he is a wonderful musician and speaker, and we are looking forward to that. The other thing is that Jim Scott is also going to be performing in the first of this coming year's Music at the Ridge series. So I want to invite Nancy Hershatter up for just a moment to say a little bit more about that.
Good morning. So, Music at the Ridge is one Sunday a month at 4 p.m. It's our live acoustic music series, which began last October. We had 8 shows and we succeeded in raising a couple grand for UUCD, and we're hoping to double that this year. So, in a sense, this Music at the Ridge thing is a shared ministry because it really does directly help UUCD. But it also is a way of building bridges to the rest of the community, because what better than a shared love of music? So there are 2 posters in the hallway. This one, which is about next Sunday. This one, which lists all 10 of the upcoming shows. So if you have a bulletin board in your neighborhood, go for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. It's a blessing, that Music at the Ridge program. We are very lucky. Now, I know the order of service said that we were going to greet each other, but we're going to do something a little bit different. So I'm going to ask you to roll with us. For now, if you want to just give a quick wave to the people around you, and we can even say hi to the folks online. We will save our deeper greetings for a little later in the service. And for now, Reverend Tony's going to come up for the chalice lighting.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. If I'm unfamiliar to anybody, I'm Reverend Tony Lorenzen, the minister here at the UU Congregation Danbury. My pronouns are he and him. I believe that we make this time together here and this place sacred and holy just by being together here. I find that wondrous. And as Unitarian Universalists, we start our celebrations by lighting the flaming chalice, the symbol of this faith tradition. I invite you to join me in the words of the chalice lighting as Sam lights the chalice. Love, spirit of his congregation, and justice is his light. This is our coming, to dwell together in peace, to seek and speak the truth in love, to help one another and celebrate life. We celebrate life with people of all ages, and as part of that, we all say together affirmation for our children. We are universalists. We are people of open minds, loving hearts, and helping hands. We care for the earth and each other. And we extend this welcoming part of the service by singing together, and the hymn of welcome is Come Sing a Song With Me. The lyrics will be on the screen, and also it's number 346 in the gray hymnal book. perhaps, well, to me anyway, one of the saddest things about the decline of print newspapers is the loss of the daily comic section and the occasion of the colored Sunday comic section. My all-time favorite comic strip, and the competition is close, but I think my favorite one of all time is Calvin and Hobbes by Bill Watterson. And if you have no idea what Calvin and Hobbes is, it's the misadventures of a 6-year-old boy and a tiger named Hobbes, who is seen by Calvin as a living, breathing, lots of fur tiger, and by everyone else as a stuffed toy. They have lots of adventures together. Hobbes helps Calvin in all kinds of hijinks, and my favorite running gag through the entire strip was Calvin Ball, a game Calvin and Hobbes invents, which has no rules other than you make up the rules as you go along.
Other kids' games are all such a bore. You gotta have rules and they gotta keep score. Calvin Ball is better by far. It's never the same. It's always bizarre. You don't need a team or a referee. You know that it's great because it's named after me. It's Saturday. What do you want to do? Anything but play an organized sport. Want to play Calvin Ball? Yeah. No sport is less organized than Calvin Ball. No rule. If you don't touch the 30-yard base wicket with the flag, you have to hop on one foot. Okay, the score is Oogie to Boogie. I already had Oogie. You just ran into the invisible sector. You have to cover your eyes now because everything is invisible to you. Invisible sector? I didn't know we had an invisible sector. Where is it? You can't see it. It's invisible. How do I know I went in it then? You can't see anything, right? Okay, so how do I get out? Somebody points you with a Calvin Ball. I get another point. That was a rotten rule. I decree no more invisible sectors. In fact, I'll show you. You just ran into a vortex spot. You have to spin around till you fall down. Sorry, this vortex spot is the boomerang zone, so the vortex returns to whoever calls it. You spin. That's not fair. You know the Calvin Ball rules. Yeah, anything we make up. Well, you'll pay for this. This game runs its certain abuses. Guess how you get out of the boomerang zone. Hi, Calvin, what's with the mask and bucket? This isn't Calvin, please do what you're told. And here is a bucket of water ice cold. Please take this water and dump it on me. Don't hesitate to it ASAP. Just wait till you touch the precious ball place. Ooh, you'll be sorry then. I love playing Calvin Ball. This is a bang flag zone. Ollie Wally Polly Woggy Bump Fizz. Hey. Aha, I stole your flag. If I hit you with the Calvin Ball, you have to put the flag back and sing the I'm very sorry song. I don't have to sing the song. I was in the no song zone. No, you weren't. I touched the opposite pole. So the no song zone is now the song zone. I didn't see you touch the opposite pole. You have to declare it. I declared it oppositely by not declaring it. Start singing. Here's the very sorry song. Won't you help and sing along? Bum, bum, bum. I blew it. He's sorry. I knew it. So sorry. I'm very, very just sorry that I took your precious flag. I'm free. I get free passage to Wicket 5. No, that's what we did last time, remember? Oh yeah. Okay, the new rule is we have to jump everywhere until someone finds the bonus box. That's good. Only permanent rule in Calvin Ball is you can't play it the same way twice. The score is still 2-12.
Keep that in mind. We'll reference it again later. Let's join singing this little light of mine.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let this light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
One of the ways we build loving community is taking the time each Sunday to hold each other in our hearts and to let each other know we need to be heard and held by quietly coming forward and placing a stone in the bowl, or by briefly sharing aloud a milestone or a marker, a joy or sorrow or prayer that's in our heart. I invite you, as you are so moved, first to come share milestones by silently placing the stones in the water. And when that has finished, just raise your hand if you'd like to come up and share something out loud. A time of quiet, silence. Invite you to breathe deeply, ground yourself here in this space among friends. Hold your own needs, those of your family, friends, and loved ones in your heart, as we all hold all the milestones we've heard this morning in our heart, especially those that have not been spoken this morning because they are too much or too difficult for words. We'll end silence by singing Spirit of Life. I want to share with you this morning a couple pieces of wisdom by Adrienne Marie Brown from her work, Pleasure Activism. I believe that we are in an imagination battle, and almost everything about how we orient toward our bodies is shaped by fearful imaginations. Imaginations that fear blackness, brownness, fatness, queerness, disability, and difference. Our radical imagination is a tool for decolonization, for reclaiming our right to shape our own lived reality. I believe our imaginations, particularly the parts of our imaginations that hold what we most desire, what brings us pleasure, what makes us scream yes, are where we must seed the future and turn toward justice and liberation. Pleasure is not one of the spoils of capitalism. It is what our bodies, our human systems are structured for. It is the aliveness and awakening, the gratitude and the humility, the joy and the celebration of being miraculous. I have seen over and over the connection between tuning in to what brings aliveness into our systems and being able to access personal, relational, and communal power. Conversely, I have seen how denying our full complex selves, denying our aliveness and our needs as living sensual beings, increases the chance that we will be at odds with ourselves, our loved ones, our co-workers, and our neighbors on this planet.
This is the time in our service where we gratefully receive our weekly offering. If you were here in the fellowship hall, you will see the plates passing in the next few moments. If you're online, there are many ways to give. You have the link that will appear in the chat. There is the QR code on the screen, which applies to us here as well. And you are also welcome to just put an old-fashioned check in the mail to 24 Clapboard Ridge Road if you would like to do that. If this is your first or second time visiting us, please don't feel obligated. Your presence is your gift to us, and we are glad that you are here. So at this point, the offering will be gratefully received.
In his book, Finite and Infinite Games, the philosopher James P. Carse writes, there are two types of games. One may be called finite and the other infinite. Carse says that finite games are played to win, the object always being victory. Infinite games are played for the joy of playing, and the object is to continue the play. The rules of a finite game can't change, but the rules of an infinite game must change. Carse says the goal of finite players is to avoid surprise. Surprise causes finite play to end, he says. It is the reason, however, for infinite play to continue. American culture doesn't know what to do with an infinite game. We hate losers. We must win. We expect victory. We can't imagine any scenario in which America isn't number one, the best at everything. Of course, this is rooted in ignorance and American exceptionalism, but true nonetheless. We play to win in America. When our dominant culture here is threatened, we take on the attitude of win or go home. Horror of horrors if forever we realize we might happen to be losing. If that happens, we don't train harder, we don't practice more, We scapegoat the coaches, the other players, the rules. We stoke hatred and division, making any others available the reason for our lack of skill and expertise and acumen. They cheated. They stole the election. They're stealing our jobs, all the while being too lazy to work. They are a threat in our restrooms. They are indoctrinating our children. And why not? Finite games are zero-sum affairs. For me to win, you have to lose. And being a loser, as we've established, is the worst thing possible here. Finite games are contests for power and control, contests of will and domination. And infinite games are the exact opposite. The only way there's a winner is if we all win. The only way there's a loser is if we all lose. Infinite games seek not a winner, but participation in the play. Infinite games are activities that are explorative. They involve cooperative creativity. They're just darn fun, like Calvin Ball. Calvin Ball is nonsensical, arbitrary, at times utterly confusing, but lots of fun. I don't know about you, but I remember playing games very similar to it while I was growing up. I don't know why I ever stopped. As adults, there's something about a game with no rules that we don't like. As human beings, we are tuned to see patterns in everything. We love order. With too many rules, we feel confined. But with too few rules, we feel chaotic. 83 different flavors of Pringles, 157 different streaming channels, and nothing good to watch. I think much of the conflict in our politics, in our society, in our workplaces, even in our churches and schools, is that there is a conflict between those who are playing a finite game and those who are playing an infinite game. Since the emergence of MAGAism and through COVID, our country, the world, feels a bit chaotic. I think here in America, we're in the middle of a struggle over the American game. Perhaps we always have been. Will the rules hold? Are the rules worth having? Will the rules change? Will the rules remain, but will some players either legally or practically be above them? Politics, however sane or crazy, is a finite game. And that's why doing things such as battling climate change or easing human suffering are so difficult to achieve politically. Our society, our government, our courts, our educational system, all our major institutions and systems are about winning. Not what's best, not what's fair, not what's compassionate. Winning, getting the best grade. We don't go to court to find out what justice is. We go to win our case. We need to stop playing so many finite games. I think one of the reasons many, if not most people, such as ourselves, find ourselves in a Unitarian Universalist congregation is that somewhere along the line, we realize that the human spirit is infinite, even if we didn't use these words, and needs infinite games. But that most organized religion, if not all of it, plays finite games. Official dogmas, rules, theologies, concerned more with our purity, how well we follow everything and the rules, than our actual human personhood. How well do you match up to an impossible standard is more important than how much love, kindness, compassion, and sense of fairness is in your heart. Not that we are innocent as Unitarian Universalists. We have our own purity culture at times. Any Unitarian Universalist who ever told you can't say God here, that's the same purity culture fundamentalism as the fundamentalist saying you're not going to heaven for XYZ. But I think in Unitarian Universalism, we do at least intend to play infinite games. We use multiple sources of spiritual inspiration, a respect for the world's accumulated religious and spiritual wisdom, and scientific wisdom. We are trying to create community that is a microcosm of what our society must become if we are to survive and continue the play. And I believe infinite games can only be played by players who know joy. If joy is conspicuously lacking, if it's not just fun to play, it's not an infinite game. Our culture, religion, politics can seem all too joyless. And it's important to recognize that joy is not just happiness, but a quality of the soul. Happiness is an emotion. Joy is a state of heart, a state of being, an inner orientation. Joy amplifies happiness, certainly. But joy can also be present amid sadness. You can have a joyful orientation, even through your experience of pain and loss and difficulty. The opposite of joy is not sadness, it's emptiness, isolation, disconnection. Qualities that got amplified during COVID quarantine time, when safety measures forced us to be more separate from each other than we wanted to or needed to. Joy is a fullness of heart that experiences deep connection to everything sacred and holy. Joy is wonder and amazement at the miraculousness of existence. Joy is love and being loved. Joy is seeing and being seen. Joy is usually accompanied by pleasure and happiness and excitement and elation, and this is when we most easily recognize it. However, it is when joy breaks through as a small light in the darkness that perhaps it teaches its most profound lessons, its true nature. Some of the places you can see this happen, the Pride celebration. I was at Pride celebration Middletown this year, which I believe is the largest such celebration in Connecticut. At least that's how they bill it there. I don't know. But there were two religious organizations there, the Unitarian Universalist Church in Meriden and the Episcopal Diocese of Connecticut, whose booth had representatives from 23 different Episcopal congregations. And a good friend of my wife and her wife were two of the people organizing the Episcopal presence. So I went over to say hello. And they were talking to a 14-year-old who was telling them how difficult it is to go to church being queer. And they said, here we are. We're just like you. That person's face lit up the entire street from in front of their little booth. That's joy. That's playing an infinite game. Adrienne Marie Brown says pleasure is required for justice. Her work on pleasure activism is both about needing to make pleasure, including sexuality, an openly accepted human need and human right, and that pleasure is necessary for the long-haul battle for justice. Without pleasure, we wither and die, and we can't keep up the fight for the good. Throughout human history, The poor have fought for the right for pleasure against the privileged. Labor Day is about the need for leisure, pleasure, connection, and rest from our work. All work and no play not only make us dull, it kills us. Labor's victories, winning an 8-hour workday, a weekend, child labor laws, and benefits, were not people making class warfare to access unearned luxuries. They're desperate fight by everyday people to have a life worth living instead of just fighting to exist. It is fascinating and appalling how the rich and the powerful and the privileged have always called the actual slave, the minimum wage slave, and the corporate serf lazy and shiftless and wanting handouts while idly sitting about sipping their lemonade by the pool. Think about it. Our current politics and our current spiritual realities require the creativity, cooperation, and imaginative ingenuity of infinite game players. The finite games of law and politics and economics and diplomacy and healthcare and education, they need Calvin ballers who dare to create a new way to play the game, not just figure out how to play it best under the current rules. One that is interdependent instead of independent, that practices power with instead of power over, that realizes we are all in this together and we all win or lose together. The finite game players will see the infinite game players as completely mad losers, unhinged. But the infinite players are like the dancers who are thought to be crazy by everyone who couldn't hear the music. The role of faith communities, the role of education, the role of art and music, the role of clergy and teachers and artists and musicians and activists and reformers. Our role is to be Calvin ball coaches. Our job is to teach everyone how to play infinite games, to help people remember they already know how to play, that truth and justice and fairness are supposed to be our default settings, that hope and love and joy are the marks of our best players, not power and control and violence, that the game skills of infinite players such as kindness and compassion and courage are the greatest weapons we have against the encroachments and unjust rules of the finite games and their players. Calvin ball coaches don't teach people to dance. We teach people how to hear the music. Once people hear the music, they'll remember how to dance. It's built into us. The dance of inclusion and respect and joy and love. James P. Carse ends his book. I'm ruining the ending for you. He ends his book by saying there are many finite games, but there is only one infinite game. I invite you to play it and play it joyfully. We need you on the team.
I now invite you to join me in the words for extinguishing our chalice, which you will find in your order of service as well as on the screen. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of community. These we carry in our hearts and out into the world until we are together again. And now, please rise in body or spirit as we have our hymn of celebration, Let It Be a Dance. It is number 311 in the gray hymnal, but the words and music will be coming from the screen.
Through the good times and the bad times too. Let it be a dance. Let a dancing song be heard. Play the music, say the words. Fill the sky with sailing birds. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance. Learn to follow, learn to lead. The seed. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance with you. May I have this dance with you. Through the good times and the bad times too. Let it be a dance. Everybody turns in. Like a willow in the wind. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance. A child is born, the old must die. A time for joy, a time to cry. Take it as it passes by. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance with you. May I have this dance with you. Through the good times and the bad times too. Let it be a dance. Morning star comes out at night. Without the dark there is no light. If nothing's wrong then nothing's right. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance. Let the sunshine, let it rain. Share the laughter, dare the pain. And round we go again. Let it be a dance.
Nancy and Jerry are going to take us into, let me switch cameras. Sherry has me up here. Okay. Nancy and Jerry are going to take us into the postlude. When the postlude concludes, we invite you then to take a moment to greet your neighbors, begin your conversations, and we'll enjoy our time together after the service.